In days gone past, this is the sort of week that would have had Eddie Maguire rubbing his hands together at the start of the footy show, because it has indeed been a big week in football, more specifically in Collingwood football. Drug allegations and sanctions accepted, rumours of players flying left and right, and finally this past weekend getting a win on the board against the arch enemy, 2-0 for the year. GC, did you enjoy that win on the weekend?
How can you not enjoy beating Carlton? Of course, so we enjoyed that. But I think if it had been anyone other than Carlton on the weekend, we may not have won.
That's a very good point. I was there and sitting. I was there for my first win this weekend, so I was pretty stoked about that. But it wasn't a good spectacle, was it? Magpie Girl?
Look, it was hard to watch at times. I had a lot of people around me yelling out, kick it up the guts. And when they moved the ball quickly up the centre, it was exciting and you just wanted to see more of that. It was so frustrating when they keep going sideways. But, yeah, look, it was nice to have a few goals and a bit of action happen in front of me. And, there were those sort of boring patches where you just got so frustrated.
It's interesting. I think the trouble for me is watching them play without that swagger and confidence that really was there early on in the year, GC. I mean, it looks like that, not that they're bereft of ideas or the hardness and the effort, I think, for the most part, is still there, but that they're lacking a touch of polish. That's top down at the moment.
Yeah. I think the big one is the lack of polish, the lack of skill. I mean, we're still trying. Well, one of the things you really like about us is, bar maybe the Melbourne match, all those losses were associated with effort, but towards the end, the Port Adelaide and the Footscray match, we didn't have great skill, and that was again apparent on the weekend. We just didn't look a good side, even though we were trying hard.
And I think save the efforts of two guys in Fasolo and the returning Ben Reid, who did more than his fair share of work on the weekend for someone who has missed the amount of footy he has. If not for the efforts of those two guys, we would have been in dire straits.
Yeah. But the funny was, someone wrote on the board, which I thought was actually, when I thought about it, was pretty true, is that, I can't remember who it was, but said we, as badly as we played, I can't think of anyone I really, really want to drop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point. Yeah.
I think everyone played a role.
Yeah, and the effort was there. It just sort of took, and it took a while. I guess the effort was consistent, but the flow or something wasn't consistent. It just they didn't ever stop trying, but they just couldn't make it work all the time.
I never felt in doubt. I never thought that we'd lose, even when I think the Blues got within a kick. There was no nervousness, but I also never felt like we were an inch away from beating them up like we did earlier in the year. We just didn't click into that gear.
But we looked like we should have. I mean, we did look like. I mean, when Fasolo lost that shot at goal, there's a couple of times where we really looked like we were about to break it open, and you thought we should have gone on with it, and we didn't. That was sort of disappointing.
Mm-hmm. But look, it's another win in the bag. Another debutant in Jonathan Marsh. I actually quite liked his game. I got to see him up close for probably the second time this year. He was electric.
He's I mean, he might have let a few things through, but gee, some of the things he did. And the thing I liked, he looked like he settled into the pace of the game pretty well, and he looked like he could take the game on. There's a lot to like about Marsh.
Yeah,
I've always liked the look
through the game.
Sorry,
I was just saying, you could see him improve through the game. He looked a bit lost in the first quarter, and he sort of adjusted to the pace as the game went on, and did do some terrific things.
Yeah, I think that was sort of the nature, maybe, of the role that he was asked to play. I think in the VFL, he's always got an assigned matchup. He's always going to take the number one forward at VFL level, because with Brown and Frost in the side, he might have had a different role. I think he played quite well, and I always like a defender who gets really pissed off when they make a mistake or when the opposition gets the ball and he certainly felt that way. So it was. He didn't look like he felt that way. So
No, he's got passion.
Yeah, passion, and that's great. That's a fantastic thing for him. So, look, 2 games in for Scharenberg, 6 in for Darcy Moore, 6 in for Maynard, 1 for Marsh. A lot of kids.
I thought the other guy who came back with a vengeance was Sinclair.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Mm.
He had some really exciting passages of play and sort of
great run. He's got a great run off the back line. He'll take the game on a bit, and he can become a line breaker, I think, if he develops.
Yep, he was good.
I think we've looked our best when we've almost played that extra half back. At the start of the year when we had Ramsey in that role, and we sort of looked like we were carrying one too many of them, that we actually looked quite good in defence, shutting down smalls quite effectively and generating a fair bit of run from the back line. So, no, he was really good. I actually can't fault a lot of players on the weekend. It just didn't all click.
That's why it feels funny, because we looked sort of ordinary, but you say, oh, well, he was all right and he wasn't too bad, and he wasn't even terrible, really.
One of the things that I find a bit strange now, looking back on the start of the season, is, those first few games at the start of the season we had, 10 or 13 goal kickers.
Yep.
And I can't kind of put my finger on what has caused that drop off. Why aren't we getting all of those players sneaking goals anymore?
Oh, it's 2 words, Magpie Girl. Travis Cloak. And
but it was
his presence
before he went out.
It probably started around the Hawthorn game. We had a good spread of goal kickers. The Freo game, we didn't rely on anyone. I genuinely think his presence is missed, and when he's on the field, the attention that he generates is huge, and it just gives other players opportunities. And it also might be a case you might be right. It might also be a case of the midfield. Midfielders not contributing to the goal tally as much as they were at the start of the year, and that could be a bit of fatigue. But I think Cloak's the main factor there.
Yeah, and I think if Cloak, if he can be back this week, and we can see Reid and Cloak, and as much as I like Moore at the moment, I must say I'd like to see White come in and play that role that he was recruited for, and see what that forward line can do in the next few weeks.
I'm sure that was the desired forward line when Jesse White was included. That was the complete intention.
What it was, yeah.
Those 3 boys down there, for Solo and Elliott as the smaller forwards, and then either a resting midfielder or a defensive midfielder like a Blair or a Goldsack in that final pocket or half forward role. But that'd be huge. It'd be good to see it in action at least for a few games this year and see if it can work and function properly. I think this we've got to put the Ben Reid debate almost to rest. It's not a case of not being a capable defender. He might still be our best defender, but what he offers us forward is tremendous.
I think if you have Cloak and Reid running out, and then you say Jesse White's not a great mark, but he gets the third tall forward, and then you say, well, for Solo and Elliott are great marks for their size, so who do you put on? I mean, that's going to stretch sides. I mean, I'd hate to be a backline coach lining up against those 5 in a way and saying, well, how are we going to stop these guys marking? If they're all on song, they can be devastating.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it becomes a part of the ground where we have a fair bit of experience as opposed to the backline and aspects of, sometimes in the midfield when we're running with some of the younger guys. This is a very experienced forward line. And 3 genuine sharpshooters, I'd say, in Reid, Elliott and Fasolo. I mean, it's dangerous. Well, look, that was a positive. Also, the win over the Northern Blues is a positive for the VFL, sitting pretty in 4th spot. This has been a good VFL season. I got the chance to watch most of the game on Foxtel, and the big standout and big discussion point has been Patrick Karnesius. He was quite impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. He's. I mean, there's no doubt you want to. You've got to fit him in, but we really need to see him have another run in the seniors. We need to know what he can do, and I don't want him to leave the club or be discarded at the moment without him having another ping at it, because we need to know what can you do.
Completely agree. And the thing is, it's obvious that he can dominate on that second level, on that tier down. But without that run in the, we saw, we bleated about it for Ben Kennedy for a while. He got a couple of games, but with these players, you've got to expose them 3, 4, 5 weeks and say, hey, go for it and let's see what you can do. Especially considering the unlikely chance of us making finals at the moment as it is, it's worth it. It's just worth doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be great to see Karnezis get a run. I think he must be a chance this week. If I'm not sure, I haven't read the last couple of days how Taylor Adams is travelling, but there was some question on him. There may be a spot or two open up this week, and I'd like to see him get a go.
Well, unless the rumours are to be believed that he's a bit disenchanted with the club and has told the club he won't be there, I can't see why he wouldn't at the very least get a look. We'll stick with the rumour mill just for a couple of minutes.
You see Taylor Adams there or Karnezis?
Karnezis.
I can't believe I can't believe he'd be telling the club that at this stage. I mean,
you certainly wouldn't think so, but we will stick with the rumour mill for a second. Talk about some more positive rumours about how every man and his dog will be playing for Collingwood next year, which is just exciting news. Adam Treloar, James Aish. My big thing is that our talented players, they don't really address a need at the club. They're both being talented midfielders, but you certainly can't pass on that sort of talent when it's available for you. What's your thoughts, GC?
Oh, well, if you can engineer, especially Adam Treloar, and I like Aish too. I think he showed a lot in his first year, and he's had an ordinary second year, but that's been the way of a lot of players. And he had those good years in his in the Sandford where he played against men as a pretty young boy. I think he'll be a very good AFL player over his career. So if you can slot those two, you can never have too many midfielders. So Treloar would be massive, absolutely massive.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And considering we're in a position where someone like Swans coming towards the end of his career, Pendles will be 28 come the start of the season next year. We've got a good young brigade, but Treloar is a genuine potential A grader, if not an A grader already, and that's talent you can't waste. Aish. Look, if Aisha's ceiling is something of a Wellingham like of 2010, and he'll be better than that, then you've got a very good player on your hands anyway. And even if he's there to put a bit of class in the midfield, which is what we sorely need, he's definitely one that we should have a look at.
Yeah, he would be very handy.
Can't you just imagine Derek Hines sitting in his office having a read of all of these threads, Collingwood Bigfooty, and having a real chuckle?
I'm saying, where did they get this information from?
That's a good idea. Why don't I go after him?
Well, it'd be good to repeat that interview at some point. Nightmare did a great job last time, and certainly good to get Derek Hines back on. Look, I'm sure they all read these sorts of things. As much as they say that they try to keep their eyes off the media and the public and the forums and stuff, I guarantee you the players have a look and club officials have a look. So, I mean, where do you think that half the journalists get their stories from? It's right here on the Collingwood podcast. So, it's all exciting news, but it'll all play out sometime in mid-October. Exciting news for the moment and for now and for the foreseeable future. Our beloved captain, Scott Pendlebury, signing on, it seems, for another 4 years. Never really in doubt, but he's the one signature you'd want more than Treloar's, more than anyone else in the AFL. It's having your captain back at the club for another 4 years and recommitting for life, really.
Oh, yeah, there's some players that should only play at one club, and he's about the main one you can think of. He should never ever go anywhere else.
No, he and Swanee, they just would not ever be at any club. Yeah.
Look, people. I think I saw floating around the boards, and I had conversations with people. He's not going to win a Brownlow medal, and that's as if that should count against him. I think he's accomplished more in his career than I'd say half the 3/4 of the Brownlow medalists have. So this is he's such a great player for us, and it's so good to see him stick around.
Yep.
You're right.
Good to know. A little bit of bad luck though. On the injury front, we've been mostly positive recently, but word spreading through that Nath Freeman has redone his hamstring. I don't know what these tendon injuries are like and these hamstring injuries are like, but this must be pretty concerning for a kid at his age, and not playing a senior game of football in his first couple of years, and just having these recurring injuries.
No, it's very rare. I think almost as worrying is I see that Buckley tonight's on the Collingwood site saying that Freeman's frustrated, our medical staff's frustrated, our conditioning staff are disappointed, and we don't know what's going on. And when he did it the first time, and you thought, well, that's a bad hamstring, he'll miss 4 to 6 or whatever, and he misses the whole season. And it just, the whole thing of that next operation this year where he has a little bit of scar tissue and they say we just need to fix this up and he'll be back shortly, and that was in May, and now we're told he won't play again for the year, unlikely. So it just doesn't quite make sense for this. What's gone on here? It's such a severe thing for a 2-year hamstring injury.
I mean, I'm sure you remember young Jesse Smith at North Melbourne. He was a really talented, almost property type player, and he had a good first season, and he became really disenchanted with the medical staff at North when they couldn't get him right. And I'd like to think that and I think that's probably a little bit of bad press. I think for the club to come out and say we're all very frustrated about all this. It's not the best look, and I can't imagine how even Freeman would feel hearing that. We're not quite sure what to do next. It's certainly not a positive situation.
Yeah, I mean, even the bottom line where he says we feel for him and want to give him the best chance to have a crack at a professional AFL career means they're talking as though the career's on the line. It's not certain, which is terrible for a number 10 draft pick to say you may not even get a crack at it.
Yeah, pretty daunting. Look, the hope obviously is that he can get himself right. We have had players who have done some pretty serious injuries in their first couple of years and have come through the other end. Shout out to Nate if you're listening. Probably not, but if you are, we are hoping the best for you. We are thinking of you, and get better soon, mate.
And on a brighter note, we finally have Brent McCaffrey coming back in.
Yeah, that's good to see.
Which is stunning news. It's stunning news because despite what people may think about his contribution and whether or not he's best 22, he is a genuine clubman, and such a terrific guy to have around. I enjoyed watching him on the VFL show they put up from Lily Street, which is quality. It's so good to hear that he'll be back and playing this weekend.
Yeah, no, it is. He's a good clubman, isn't he? And you hope he can get back to being a best 22 man. I'm not sure that he will, to tell you the truth, but great to see him back.
Absolutely. Well, we should turn our attention now to this Friday night. Buckley himself took away my phrase, saying it was a must-win game essentially. And we've known that we've known that ever since Saturday, that a win essentially keeps us mathematically within the hope of finals, whilst most of us realistic types have sort of written it off as a concept. The Swans haven't been travelling all that well, and there is a slight chance that we could go up there and maybe knock off that batch of billionaires. GC, your thoughts?
Oh, well, I think if you look purely on recent form and things, you'd have to give us not a great chance. But I think, I'm always a believer in, there's just some teams that play better against other teams. And we have such a good record against the Swannies, and I think the Swannies themselves aren't playing very well, especially if Trav Cloak's back in this week and we line up with that Cloak, Reid, Fasolo, Elliott, White, potentially forward line. Well, I'm an even money chance. I think we've got a real chance to knock them off. I'm confident.
I think the one thing that plays against us is the SCG factor, and it's a ground that I don't think we would have played at. I don't think any of the current team would have played at. Maybe Swans.
15 years. since we played
Yeah.
there.
So it's not at the Olympic Stadium. It's
No, it's the first time back we're at SCG. So.
Oh gosh.
So that's the big factor in a way.
It took Sydney 9 years to wise up and realise that we were kicking their asses all over ANZ. But
we
they have
kicked
worked it out.
Melbourne too. So I think we still can do it. I think we just, we match up well with them. I think it's more than just a ground. I don't think it's more than the ground. So I think there's a element of, when we play Hawthorn, we just look like bunnies, and when we play Sydney, we look like gold.
Mm. And there is a little bit of scuttlebutt going around that Franklin won't play.
No, they've said he's not playing. He's out.
Well, look, I think we're even money. I think this is as good a chance as we're going to get to beat Sydney. I tell you what, if we beat Sydney, we'll be kicking ourselves royally about a couple of those games that we lost, and that will be a bit of a shame. But we'll focus on this week. And I think you're right. If someone like Cloak is back and they're missing Franklin, this becomes a very, very interesting game indeed for a Friday night.
Absolutely, I think it is.
Who are we looking at leaving out of the side? I think the obvious one is Darcy Moore. Whilst he's been relatively good for a kid, and he shows the right endeavour. If Cloak is fit, Cloak has to come in, and I still think White has to come in. I think Darcy is the exclusion.
Yeah, I think Darcy Moore comes out. I think it's if you're going to bring more, it's going to be almost a halfback flanker. I mean, I really want to see Marsh play again, but he could suffer that thing of someone has to come out. I think Scharenberg's got Scharenberg you want to see start on the ground this week. Mm-hmm. It's hard. It's funny that we've lost 6 and we didn't play so well, but we're struggling to tip someone else.
And the thing is, Marsh is the interesting one because I don't think Frost has been all that brilliant. And without Franklin in the side, I don't think there's an obvious matchup for either he or Marsh at this stage. So Tippett's been running through the ruck. It's actually quite a tricky forward line to match up on because they do rotate their players out a fair bit. And without Franklin, that would have been their focal point. So it's tough to negotiate how they're going to go forward, to be honest. And that might throw a bit of a spanner in the works for young Bucks.
Well, no one's mentioned Witts either. I mean, we're a different team when both he and Grundy are in.
And he had a good game.
Yeah. It's a totally different mix, isn't it? There seems to be a lot of tools and a lot of, I don't know, don't we put everybody?
And Mason Cox, can we slip him in this week?
Well, someone has to make room.
I tell you what, he looks good. In the VFL, when you're 211 centimetres and you can run a 2.8 20 metre and you're on the lead and you can take a clunk, it's pretty hard to stop you.
No, he's impressive. I've always said if Mike Pike can make the AFL, most people can. But Cox has got some athletic ability that I don't think anyone's ever seen before. So
yeah, it's unique. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, look, I think the weekend showed that Grundy can go it alone in the ruck. I thought that he played quite well. I don't know how, and I know that we both talked about this in the past that Witts and Grundy should be played together to see how it goes. But we saw how it went, and not that I think that combination was the result of those losses, but I think Grundy performed very, very well by himself last week. I wouldn't be too keen to rush Witts back into the side at the moment.
Yeah. That's right. Where are you going to put him? Who? It's just. I think you can't bring both him and White back. I mean, it's hard enough, and Cloak in 1 week. So.
Land of the Giants at Collingwood. I think that'd be an interesting strategy. But the board might go into meltdown after what happened at Adelaide, so against Port. So maybe not. Final thoughts and a tip.
I'm going with the Pies. I think we will. I think we may not win Geelong and Richmond, but I think this is of the three, bar the Essendon match, of the 3 matches we've got coming up now. I'm most confident about this one. I just think we're going. I think with nobody, and if Trav plays, I think we win.
What about you, Magpie Girl?
Look, I think we've got a pretty good record against Sydney, and so we'll probably go in with a reasonable sense of confidence. Look, I'm always tipping the Pies.
That's what I like to hear. And I concur. I think that this is if we're going to win, one more game for the year, it will be this game, aside from the Essendon game win. But I think we win this game. There'll be a fair amount of confidence heading into the next two. So I wouldn't pencil us in as losses just yet. I'm not going to talk finals. But,
no, I can only take it a week at a time. And
can we use that line, MG? Where'd you get that one from?
That's my original line. But while there's the slightest chance of finals, and I'm not even thinking of us playing in the finals, but while there is the slightest chance, you want them to go in with the best team, to give us a win. It's not about giving other guys a bit more experience at this point.
You're right.
I think that's a fair point too, and nothing is better than winning. So
no, I mean, what about in the rooms last week? How fantastic was it to see those 5 guys in the circle? And that really showed something fantastic. And yeah,
I reckon Bucks was committed to playing Moore and Maynard until they got their first win this season. I don't think they would have been too happy if they were dropped for the game against Carlton and they didn't get the Gatorade shower. So
yeah,
but it's an infectious feeling, and it gives them confidence and something to hang on to going to next week's game. And it was just really so good to see them turn it around.
Well, hopefully a bit of that confidence can catch on and lights a fire under the boys, and we see a big performance this Friday and for the rest of the season. Magpie Girl, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Always a pleasure, Marty T. Thank you.
And GC, good to have you back. And also to all those that listened, apologies for not being there last week. I think after our 6-loss stupor, I couldn't bear to drag myself out of bed after losing to Melbourne, let alone host a podcast.
Just before we go, we should mention that the VFL are playing on Saturday afternoon.
Whereabouts?
At Vic Park.
Ooh, might be worth getting down to have a look.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, will be.
So I think it's...
And what time is the bout?
It is on the board, but I think it's 1 o'clock at Vic Park. So that should be good.
Sounds like a good plan. Do we have a rant from Dave this week?
From TD? Yeah, he's managed to do that in 5 minutes. Laurie Holden gave 5 minutes. So they're playing North Ballarat at Vic Park at 1 o'clock.
Should be a good game. Hopefully we can keep our top 4 hopes. GC, sorry I cut you off before. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you. And go Pies. We need a win. Let's do it this week.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Go Pies. This is the Mighty T signing out.
Is my round 20 rant, and finally I can do a rant after a win. My God, it's been a while. It's been 6 games and 7 weeks if we include the bye, but we finally won a game. That's been fantastic. And make it even better, it was over the old arch enemies in Cow. That was fantastic to see. And what I think helped us win this game, we didn't play well though. Still, we didn't play well because against Carlton, who's probably arguably the worst team in the comp alongside Brisbane, we only beat by 3 goals. And even in the last quarter, Carlton tried really hard and got really close to 3 points. But thankfully, different from other weeks, we got control back and didn't let them back in the game. So that was great. And one thing I do love to see we've done is with kids. Let's say we had 5 or 6 guys in the circle after win. In the circle was a rookie debuts were Moore, Schamberg, Marsh, Maynard, and Wilmot. That's 5. And it was great to see everything. Especially it was great to see Moore and Marsh pump the song with gusto. Like really meant something to them, which is lovely to see. Absolutely fantastic. And, well, hopefully they can play this week against Sydney, which I really doubt. But, because with Cloak coming in and, playing a really more experienced side and better side than Sydney. So Sydney hasn't been playing well. But hopefully we can beat Sydney this week. And the one thing that does give me a lot of hope against Sydney is that we've got, in the last 10 years, we have a really, really, really good record against them. And hopefully it keeps up. But I doubt it, because this is probably the most lopsided time we've played where they've been good and we've been down. It's probably the biggest time since then, but hopefully we can continue a good row against the Swans, and I'll see you around next week.